Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Chairman and CEO of the Libra Group and Chairman of the Concordia Leadership Council, George Logothetis.
Vice President Biden, Your Royal Holiness, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very proud to be speaking to you at the first Concordia Europe Summit. Very proud. As we've heard these past 2 days, partnership between government, business, and non-profits is not just a better way, it's the only way. So thank you, Nick and Matt. Thank you to the Concordia team. And thank you to all those who made this event possible. Now, there are people out there who think there are no more heroes in the world. Well, you just heard from one. A great one. Someone who both in his personal and public life has faced challenges, catastrophes, and tragedies that would have brought others to their knees and kept them there. Yet he rose up, faced all those years ago with the tragic loss of his wife and infant daughter. How did he then persevere with more than 4 decades of outstanding public service? How did he lose his adult son whilst being Vice President of the United States, yet still be bound by duty? Well, only a hero does. And the truest of heroes do not accept or expect that they are a hero. By serving, not ruling, always serving his family, community, faith, country, the world. Ladies and gentlemen, many lessons are wrapped in Vice President Biden's life, many of which apply and are applicable to Greece and the Greeks of today. Now, this epic social and economic crisis, which has engulfed this land these past 9 years, has had many obvious negative effects. But to me, some of the most profound are less obvious. A dilution of pride, a reduction of self-worth, a loss of cultural identity. And this permeates the bloodstream and consciousness of all Greek people. It infects our souls and our spirits. Now, this may be all that you have heard and read, but this is not all that we have seen. What we have seen gives us hope and confidence in the Greek people. Now, we often read, we hear of the label of lazy Greeks. I don't see that at all. I see industrious work engines, be it the ingenious young tech startup or the selfless volunteers on the island of Lesbos. We read, we hear of the inevitability of perpetual crisis. But I see people refusing to give up and refusing to give in. Fighters, Greek fighters. We read, we hear of complacency. But I see the opposite. People fighting for survival. Creativity on steroids. Making something out of nothing. Heroes. Heroes. But I'll come back to that. Now, like you, I worry. I have my sleepless nights. In the dark of the night, I worry that I see more resentment than compassion, more greed than generosity, and more pessimism than optimism. But then the morning comes, and I see heroism all around. And many heroes born and shaped from many crises. For there is a well of latent greatness in all of us. Often it takes adversity for heroism to be ventilated and brought to life. Let me give you two examples. My wife, Nitsia, runs a mental health organization called the Seleni Institute. And every month, there are workshops for teen mothers. The first workshop included one very insecure 16-year-old girl who was brave enough to come with her small baby. One of the clinicians at Seleni congratulated her for being a mother. These were words she had never heard. She had never been told, congratulations for being a mother. She had been marginalized, not believed in, looked down upon. Sound familiar? On hearing these words, she started to cry. She started to cry. Congratulations for being a mother. She broke down because she realized no one had cared for her until that moment. The belief and care Seleni gave to her ignited what was within. She refused to give up. She's working by day. She refused to give in. She studies by night. She is a heroic mother 24/7. And then a few weeks ago, Nitsi and I hosted 20 young people from the Bronx in New York for dinner. Limited by social immobility, constrained by circumstance. They were brilliant kids, all of them. Bright-eyed, sharp, hungry, perceptive, raw human capital. Sound familiar? The fact that they had so rarely been complimented or encouraged led them to believe they were not worthy of either. But they were brilliant. One of the kids said something very clever. And I said to him, man, that was very clever. The boy was shocked. And I was shocked that he was shocked. Now, you don't have to believe in miracles, but you do have to believe in people. And people believed in make miracles. And we see this all the time here in Greece. Now, we also see young people being looked down upon, marginalized, and not believed in. We hear of young interns applying for jobs outside of Greece, but being rejected because they are Greek and stereotyped as lacking in some way. Funding for Greek companies not being approved because they're Greek and stereotyped as a bad investment. Now, the stereotype can become the prototype or not. Because the other side of the coin of crisis is the intern who is working until the early hours of the morning. The entrepreneurs with no monetary capital compensating every hour of every day with ambition capital, creativity capital, and the capital of sheer determination. The social workers who work 16 hours a day for 800 euros a month, saving the lives of the voiceless and the oppressed. There are many Greek heroes, ladies and gentlemen, that are unseen, unheard, and unappreciated. I find that unacceptable. No one says it. No one says it. But there are legions of heroes out there fighting every hour of every day. They may not be seen or heard, but they are there. Instead of the lazy Greeks, the heroic Greeks. Now, 2 weeks ago was the 100th anniversary of John F. Kennedy's birth, and I was reminded of a story. In the early 1960s, President Kennedy visited NASA, and he saw a janitor sweeping the floors. He approached the janitor, and he asked him how he was and what he was doing. The response: "Mr. President, I am working to help put a man on the moon." And he was right. He was right. He may not have had as critical a role as the engineers or as glamorous a role as the astronauts, but he played a part. He played a part. He was contributing to the solution. He had a purpose. And it is the accumulation and collection of individual purposeful acts, be it from the janitor or the President of the United States, that put a man on the moon. So what can we all individually do to collectively help this country exit the crisis? To restore the national pride and prove the skeptics and cynics wrong. And what started off as a fiscal crisis alone has become a crisis of faith and a deficit of confidence. Maybe the solution is not without, it is within. Maybe by recognizing and accepting that Greeks have struggled heroically these past 9 years helps us to fill the confidence deficit. Like I said before, no one says this, but it is true. And they are here today amongst us, heroic Greeks. Maybe it is by realizing we are not prisoners of the present and the future is not finite. The story of Greece is not ended. It's still being written by you, written by all of us, young and old, rich and poor, powerful and powerless. And just like the janitor, if our individual acts are infused with collective purpose and belief, heroes are born and miracles are possible. My friends, Greeks need not be the subject of pity or scorn. Belief in our country is not possible without belief in its people. You, all of us. The heroic in our past was defined in battle. Now it must be defined in everyday struggle. At the same point in time, we must no longer look to or rely on the heroes of our past, but look for the heroic in each other. The everyday, ordinary heroes. Like the mother with tears in her eyes. The Bronx boys and girls with newfound smiles on their faces and confidence in their hearts. And I see it every time I come here. Every time. Without fail. So, today, and finally, Greece and Greeks are global underdogs. An economic and social David to the Goliath of negative expectations. But there is opportunity in being David sometimes. We have the possibility to reinvent ourselves, to prove people wrong, to emerge stronger and united, to reaffirm our collective culture. And of course, lest we forget, David beat Goliath. Thank you very much.